and welcome to Still Building Podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about, is the Bible truly the Word of God? We're going to get into that and a lot more on today's episode, starting right now. Yeah. We black. We black yet again. It's your man, Marifa. You dig? Still Building Podcast with my mans, my brothers. You know what I'm saying? Kit Jones, Jack O. How y'all doing? We back for another
House, baby.
episode. You dig? Black episode for another episode of Still Building Podcast, man. We got a great topic today, man. We discussing the Bible, y'all. We talking about the Bible. All right. We had a question from the chat room
Absolutely.
from a previous episode that we had from one of our subscribers, and they asked the question: is the Bible truly the Word of God? And we're going to get into it, man, and we're going to discuss it a little bit, man, and get deep into it on today's episode. So look forward to that, man. Let's get it started, man. Let's get jumping right now, man. You know what I'm saying? Kid Jones, can you kick us off?
Oh yeah. And the reason why I like to go first is because when the question was asked, it was actually if the Bible's been tampered with, does that make it the Word of God? Right.
Right.
So the person was alluding to, hey, this book has been tampered with, right? And I kind of turned it on its ear, in a later episode and became rhetorical and just asked, well, which God are you talking about? Right. And I did that because, we all have our own perception of what God is. So keeping it in tune with the Bible and God, I want to reference and give a shout out to an ancestor, Brother Kenneth Smith, Big Smitty,
Oh, yeah.
dropped something on me, years ago, back when I was 20. Smitty told me before you get involved with anything, do some research on it, right? Learn the history of the organization, learn what the foundation is, learn what their, motivation is, right? And so I took that approach to a lot of things. And I noticed, like, along my ways, I met a brother who hit me to etymology, right? And etymology is the core root meaning of a word and its uses, right? So it's not so much the definition, it's the definition on steroids.
Right.
Definitions kind of generalize, and depending on which dictionary you use, if you have an unabridged encyclopedic dictionary, you're going to get way more information out of that as opposed to just a Merriam-Webster or, whatever dictionary is out there, right? So when we use this language that we speak, which is English for the majority of us, right? We're using words,
Right.
but do we really have a real understanding of what the origin of the word is when we're using it? So I would encourage our viewers, do your own research, right? So I'm just here to drop seeds on
Exactly.
you, right? But do research into the origin of the word Bible.
Right.
The word Bible means book. It's Greek for book, biblio, right?
Right.
So, you could start with like simple things. I encourage people who that are, interested in the Bible to get a book like a Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, which has the definition of Bible, which you can look at, and it'll show you all the origins of the various Bibles,
Yeah.
like the Guggenheim Bible, right? The first publicly pressed Bible,
Right.
which differs from the King James Version, which differs from the Bishop's Bible, which differs from the Vulgate Bible, right? So there's a lot of different Bibles out there. But check out the origin. And one reason why I encourage that is because when you look at the years that these things were translated and compiled and what was canonized and considered
All of
non-canonical,
these things.
right? When you consider those, I always say picture where you may have fit into that picture, right? Put yourself into that, the same way with like religions. If you research the origin of a religion, look at the time that this religion was formulated, and then picture yourself as you look today
Right.
in that time. Where do you think you would fit in, right?
Yeah.
So I
Right.
just want to drop those seeds of encouragement for anybody, right? And then let's look at the word or the definition of God, and then let's look at the etymology of God, right? So the word God in monotheistic religions is the creator and ruler of the universe and source of all moral authority and basically the supreme being, right?
Right.
That's just a general
Right.
definition, right? But then when we do the etymology, right? When we do the etymology, God is an old English word for supreme being, right? Um, that old English word is also considered like the Christian definition of what God is, right? It's also an old Saxon word. In Dutch, the word is still God, right? Old High German, Got, Gott, mein Gott, right?
Right.
Uh, so, this is a language that we're using. We're using a word to define something that I think in general, most people do think of God, God, as
Mm-hmm.
the supreme being,
Right.
right? Or
Hmm.
the creator,
Right.
right? But again, when we do the etymology, we see that that word got and God means that which is invoked or to call or to invoke something. So this is the kind of next way to crack some of the puzzle, right? Just dropping seeds, right?
Yeah.
What is the difference between invoking and evoking? To
Yeah.
invoke is to call on for aid or protection, right?
Right.
So again, correlating God, this is what most
Mm-hmm.
people's perception of what God is. That which you call upon, you invoke it for aid or protection, and a call forth, um, and to call forth in magic. That's the part a lot of people don't understand, right?
Right.
That in order for this God in you to work, there has to be a process of magic, right?
Right.
Um, and to conjure, when you're invoking,
Okay.
you're conjuring, right? So again, I'm using terms kind of together that for people that are religious, they're contradictory, right? But if you're spiritually
Right.
inclined, you can see the connection, right?
Right.
That if you're invoking something, you're calling upon it for aid, but it's through magic. And magic, by definition, magic with a K, not with a C. Magic with a K is the art and will of causing change to occur in conformity. Excuse me, the art and science of causing change to occur in conformity with will. It's the
Right.
art and the science of causing change to occur in conformity with will,
So
right?
then your will is you have to will it into existence. Right.
Correct,
Mm-hmm.
correct. But there's an art and a science to it,
Yeah.
right? So,
All right.
and I'm just throwing terms out there. There's a lot of ways to like explain this through Gnosticism. And what is Gnosticism? Gnosticism is to know, right?
Right.
So if you're in the know, if you're what Republicans love to throw around, if you're woke,
Yeah. I don't know
then
how they got got a hold of
it's
that.
corrupt
They watching too many
everything.
YouTube videos,
Don't
man.
get that woke disease.
Yeah, they tripping
They
out, man. See, we can't have
corrupt
nothing, man. We
everything, right?
cannot have nothing.
Right. Right. But yeah, if you're aware to what's going on, and then you do realize that there's an art and a science to causing, your will, the things that you want to have happen. And we partake of it usually on the negative side where that person that's like hula hula, the eternal pessimist, right? Oh, bad things always happen to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, bad things always do happen to you, right? Oh, I always get fired. Oh, always
All
that
right.
that person that speaks of themselves that way never has success, never has luck, right?
Yeah. They
Because look what they're
manifesting that. They
right.
manifesting that into their existence.
But how are they manifesting it? They're manifesting it not just
Right.
through their intent, but through their words,
Yeah.
through the
Shout out to
words that they're
Delise.
using.
Shout out to Delise in the chat. What's happening,
Exactly.
sis?
Right
Going on
on.
with you?
Exactly.
Go ahead, bro. My bad. I'm just shouting the chat
Oh,
real
no
quick.
worries, no worries. So just getting back to invoke and evoke. Evoke implies a strong stimulus that arouses an emotion or an in or it makes you have like an inherent an instant recollection of something, right? So usually we can say like a song will evoke warm memories, right? And those that have gone to church or participated in religious ceremonies know that what song is also part of your religious experience, right? You
Yeah,
sing hymns
Right.
to evoke a warm
And expression.
feeling. Yeah, to evoke warm feelings, right? Well, hell, when I was a little children, right, growing up watching Lion Country Safari and Mutual of Omaha, and they were showing the pygmies and all the wild Africans running around and the bush people doing their dances. I always thought like, man, that looks kind of cool, right? I
shout
see
out to
them
Nikki
jumping up
Sands
and
in the chat.
down.
Nikki
I
saying shout
see
out
them
to the
jumping
chat.
up and
See,
down and celebrating and doing things, and realized that there was a when I got a little older and started going to Baptist church, there was still some of that same element that was there, that was still part of this magic, right? Where in part of your invocation, you have evocation, that you have, not just the praying part, right, which is the meditative part, right, but also you have music, right?
right.
So, I want to step over to these two things too, because I mentioned them. We have people that we use these terms interchangeably, but really, this is just a question for you to ask yourself. What is the difference between spirituality and religion, right? Religion is a specific set of organized beliefs and practices, usually shared by a community or a group. So
Right.
that's just a simple. That's not going into the etymology, which is kind of distracting because then we get into the Latin and religio and religare, which means to hold back, tie down, and restrain. But that is in regards to a part of a psyche that gets turned off when you become like religious in a fanatical way, right? And then there's spirituality. Spirituality is more of an individual practice and has to do with having a sense of peace and purpose, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I know a lot of my people that are into religion consider themselves spiritual, right? That's the
Right.
side I want to speak to. If you consider yourself, hey, look, I know these are the tenets or the practices of my religion, right? These are the things that we do like this, but there's still a part of me that realize I have an individual responsibility. I have an individual purpose, right? I have an individual self awareness of peace or a longing for peace of mind within myself. Then, you know, I'm not knocking what anybody does. It's definitely not my choice. It's not something I promote. But what I promote is if you're spiritual, you consider yourself spiritual, then start to take away the roadblocks that you set up for yourself because you haven't read the Bible, right? Or you haven't studied the origin of the Bible, right?
Right.
Or the origin of the words that we use, like God, especially in regards to the Bible. If you're a fan of the Bible, get yourself a Strong's exhaustive concordance, right? Where you can look up these words and read the word that
Exactly.
originally was there in the Hebrew for the Old Testament and in the Greek for the New Testament.
Yeah.
Be aware that the God of the Old Testament is not the same as the God of the New Testament. The God of the New Testament is a God of love. The God
Right.
of the Old Testament is a bipolar God named Yaldabaoth or Yahweh, right? And
God of
there is,
vengeance. A God of vengeance.
yeah, it dude, he's messed up,
Vengeance,
but
boy.
that comes again if you consider yourself like a scientist, or you take a scientific approach or a scholarly approach to, searching out God, then read some of the Gnostic writings, like
Mhm.
the syllabus, there's an Ophite system, there's a Sethian system, right? That
Mhm.
in these systems, Yahweh or Yaldabaoth is regarded as a malevolent demiurge, which is just a creator god and false god of the Old Testament, who generated the material universe and keeps the souls trapped in physical bodies,
Mhm.
imprisoned in the world of pain and suffering that he created, right?
Yeah.
This is what he's known for creating. And when you look it up, the world that he created was called paradise.
On Earth,
So,
and
yeah,
that's according to the
Mm-hmm.
Gnostics.
this,
That's the
according to the Gnostic system, this is
Right.
paradise, right?
yeah.
So, this is the
Right.
trap that we get caught in when you're invoking God without really understanding who are you invoking.
Yeah.
Now, again, for my people that are spiritual, I know a lot of you have cracked that glass ceiling of like understanding. No, I'm not giving honor to that, right?
Right.
Because you have that sense within yourself. I know a lot of my people, especially my youngsters, have already cracked that and understand ancestor veneration, right? Understand tapping into higher self, right?
Right.
And overcoming a lot of things, right? Um, because you have access to information that a lot of people have just, not paid attention to. Like, I go on Instagram, I go on YouTube, I go on all the social medias, and there's always, something popping up that's just a little tidbits. A lot of youngsters out here doing fantastic jobs, right? So again, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
take up too much time. I just wanted to drop some seeds on it, and I'm gonna pass it on to my brothers so they can put their 2 cents in.
Yeah, man, appreciate that, kid, man. Look, I want to shout out the chat room, man. We got like 25 people, watching right now. You know what I'm saying? We want you to go
Word.
ahead and hit that
All
like,
right.
subscribe button, you know what I'm saying? Hit the like button, you know what I'm saying? Comment if you got any comments and things you want us to address while we on the show. Please hit it in the chat, you know what I'm saying? So that way we can go ahead and address it live on the show right now. So hit it in the chat if you got any questions regarding the Bible. We got a pastor on here, you know what I'm saying? Jack O is a pastor. We got a pastor here. We got a
Word.
spiritualist on here, man. You know what I'm saying? Kid is spiritualist, you know what I'm saying? And me, I just do my thing, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to boast, you know what I'm saying, about myself. But please, please, please hit that like button, you know what I'm saying, and subscribe to the channel as well. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, so Jack O, man, what do you think, man? What do you know what I'm saying? Is the Bible
All right.
truly the word of God?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and jump in this thing, man. And so Kit covered a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And me, I'm going to probably try to keep it a little simple, man. And I'll probably be riding mostly with the Bible because that's what I do. For me, that's who I am. That's my lane. I stay in my lane.
Word.
You know, and try not to have any accidents, man. So that being said, and going back to the question, is the Bible really the word of God?
Right.
Well, it depends on what you choose to believe. Kit broke that down. The Bible talks about what you choose to believe. Jesus Christ in the New Testament talks about what you choose to believe. So it's all based on your personal choice. Yeah. So you can do whatever you choose to do. Now I'll throw this question out there, and probably just to cause a little controversy. But before that, let me say this. I'm not a pastor. I'm a minister in the church.
Okay,
I'm not
okay.
leading the congregation.
All right, my bad. I got the title
Thank God.
wrong. My bad, bro.
Thank God. I'm not. That's all right. Look, man, I'm not leading the congregation, man. That is that's a task.
Oh yeah.
That's a task. But anyway, man, addressing the issue, is the Bible truly the word of God? Again, that goes back to what you believe. And of course, it's good to do your research and find out if that's what works for you. Now, for me, I can take you back to the time that I was a little boy. I was brought up in church, uh, basically raised in a Baptist church, visited several other different kinds of churches around the area, man. Even studied a little bit with Jehovah's Witness, so I had an all-encompassing, for the most part, childhood, man. Then when I joined the military, well, actually, before I joined the military, man, I had some experience, of course, with 5%er. One of my cousins came down from New York, man. He was talking to 5% talk, man. And then, of course, I did a lot of reading, man, when I was a little boy. And that carried on with me, man, through the time that I was in the military and through my life period altogether. So during the course of time, man, I read through several different religious books, even Buddhism, Hinduism, little taste of this and that here and there. But when I really got serious about pursuing God and pursuing a relationship with God, and I started to study the Bible and practice the principles of the Bible, again, going back to what Kit just said recently, and that is a lot of those things that he addressed in terms of speaking things into existence is covered in the Bible. Go to John chapter 1, right? And it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, And now this is for people who actually go to church and they consider themselves to be Christian or whatever the case. When the spirit of the word connects with when the written word connects, or the spoken word connects with the spirit that's on the inside of you, that causes things to happen. That causes you to get that feeling that Kit talked about, it arouses something, it invokes something, it wakes something up on the inside of you. You have to determine what kind of person you want to be and what's going to be your tool to make you or shape you into that type of person that you want to be. So I just posted on Facebook last night, life's experiences narrates your life story. So if you had a negative Christian experience, then you're probably going to shy away from being a Christian. If you had a positive Christian experience, then that's probably what you'll gravitate towards. If you are a person who enjoys studying and learning new things, then you're going to be more or less a person that's all over the place, you know what I'm saying, with no solid root. So wherever you start, right, get you a solid foundation, build on that foundation, and go from there. For me, again, I chose the road of Christianity. And the reason that I chose the road of Christianity, number one, is because that's what I was brought up in as a child. Number two, after studying a whole lot of different other things, right, and then coming back and getting serious about it, I told God, I want to know exactly who you are, right? And I began to study and read the Bible and practice the art of prayer. And through the art of prayer, and we can say meditation or whatever the case, I felt that deep connection with God, right? And I asked, again, in asking that question, I said, show me, you know what I'm saying? Show me who you are by doing this or doing that, per se. And then there were some prayers that I would pray and God would answer through, by means of the universe or however you want to call it. The prayers that I prayed, God answered those prayers and did those things. Now, of course, everybody is going to have a different experience. And sometimes when you're praying and it doesn't seem like what you're praying for is happening in these things, we get discouraged. But that's the whole purpose of faith. Faith is not something that you know is going to happen. Faith is something that you believe is going to happen. And you have to hold on to that faith. It's up to you when you want to let go. You know, you can pray, you can pray, you can pray, you can pray, and don't seem like anything is happening. And you can say, okay, well, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm not praying anymore. I'm going to let that go. And then it might happen. It might not happen. So that is one of the things, I guess, in Christianity that kind of makes people stray away. My thing was when I heard the question, well, why are you asking this question? Is the Bible really the word of God? You know, is it because there are certain requirements that the Bible speaks about that you don't want to adhere to? Because a lot of people have issues with authority and issues with following certain rules and so on and so forth, which is why they stray away from Christianity or stay away from the Bible or organized religion altogether, because they say, hey, this is my life. I want to live it however I want to live. I don't need no rules and regulations, you know. But I told my children, and I believe this to be a true statement, there are going to be rules and regulations wherever you go. Right. You ride down the street, it's at 30 miles per hour. Reason it's at 30 miles per hour is because somebody came down through there flying, had an accident.
Right.
So they determined that 30 miles an hour is a pretty safe way for you to drive. You know what I'm saying? If you have an accident, the impact won't be as bad. So there are rules and regulations. Those things are to keep us on track with, one, a safe style of living or a way that works for just about everybody. That's just like the rules and regulations on your job, right? A lot of these things, a lot of the practices on your job have already been tried.
Mm-hmm.
And those things that have been tried have been proven to be successful. So they were written down.
Right.
So since this is successful, let's continue to follow this formula.
Yeah.
And that is the thing overall with religion. This formula has proven to be successful for me or this person or that person or a number of people. So if you conform and follow this formula, then you should have the same success.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work exactly to a science, but in essence, to a degree, it does.
All right. We got a question for the chat room, fellas. You know what I'm saying? So Delise asks, do you all believe Jesus is Lord like I do?
I believe Jesus is Lord. That is one of the principles of the Bible. If you're a Bible believer, then you do. If not, then maybe not.
Now, see, I have a different understanding of that. You know what I'm saying? Because I
Go
evolved
for it.
from Christianity, my evolution from the religion, it brought me to a understanding of what Jesus is and what Jesus is representing. You know, Jesus is representing a metaphor for me. All right. So this may not be for everybody. And for those, like, I know, it's like there's levels to everything. Right. So like you're a child, you go through kindergarten, first grade, second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way to college. Right. So some people may be at different stages in their lives, and they may have an understanding of certain things at different stages in their lives. So for me, Jesus represents a certain characteristic of an ideology of what human beings should treat each other as. It's like an allegorical symbolism, more or less to the point where it's representing love, compassion, you know, empathy, agape love. So Jesus' character, just like a movie character, represented those particular aspects of a human being that we should all try to emulate and strive towards, right? So, in that essence, you're talking about the Christ consciousness. So, the title that was exemplified on Jesus, if you read the Bible, I read the Bible several times, 3 times my entire life, word for word, without skipping. 3 times in my entire life, I read through all the D's and
Exactly.
does, and the begots this,
Yeah.
begots that. I didn't
Well,
skip not
I
one.
did the same thing, man.
Yeah. So you got to read it in order for you to understand it, right? So if you claim to be a Christian, you should definitely read your Bible. I recommend it. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't claim to be a Christian anymore.
The Bible recommends it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't
Yeah.
claim to be a Christian anymore. I have evolved from Christianity. Now that's not to say that that's a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? That's not to say that I'm a Satanist or anything like that. That's not to say that I'm not worshiping something different. But what I do understand is this, that Jesus is a principal character. It is not for me a real person who walked the earth and was, like the story goes, died on a cross, rose on the third day, all that stuff like that. That has been proven to be false from the research that I've actually went and witnessed. All right. Now, for some Christians, they'll get offended by that. A lot of Christians will look at that or hear that statement from me and say, well, how can he? It's not to disrespect anyone's religion or what they choose to believe in. It's just for me, in my research and what I've come to know and understand is the truth for me. Okay. What's true for me may not be true for you. Remember, I said there was levels to this. All right. So I may be at this level and you may be at this level. That's not to say that I'm the perfect or the best or whatever. It's just to say that I've went a little further than you may have at your lifespan at this time of understanding. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So that's not to say that I'm right or wrong. No one truly knows what the absolute truth is going to be until we cross over into transition. Now, we may claim to know. Now, we can investigate and we can try to find evidence
Mhm.
to prove our point. And for me, it was searching out the fact that is Jesus truly real? That's what has started it all for me. When I first started researching back in 2014, I went out to prove for myself that Jesus was real. Like, I wanted the total evidence and proof. Like, no, non-disputed, it's undisputed facts. Jesus is real. That's what I claimed. That's what I went out to search for. So when I went to go search and find, I went all over. I went to Africa. I went to Mexico. I went to Asia. I was all over the world traveling, searching for evidence that was in the Bible. And when I read the Bible, I took it literally. So I started going to the places in the Bible, the locations to find evidence. I went to Egypt, like I said, went everywhere,
Yeah.
find this evidence. And what I found and what I discovered was different from what I was told in the church, which caused me to think outside of the box. Okay. And to question. Now, I started to go deeper into understanding. And we could talk about dualities and all of that stuff like that, good and evil, left and right, white, black, Satan, God, all of that stuff,
Hot and cold,
hot
left
and
and
cold.
right,
Yeah.
sun and moon,
Yeah.
as
Sun and
above, so
moon.
below.
Yin and
Yeah.
yang.
So we
Yeah.
can get into the dualities and understand the allegorical metaphors that are
Yes.
in the Bible. Okay.
Yes.
So there are different aspects of it. So you're saying to yourself, there is a deeper meaning than what you see on the surface. There is so much more into the Bible that you may not be seeing when you're reading it. So, from the context purpose,
Exactly.
you have to understand what it is that the message that is being conveyed is not always what you see on the surface. Why do you think when Jesus spoke, he spoke in parables in the book? So he spoke in parables to those who did not
Hmm.
follow him, and
Right.
then he spoke plainly to the ones who did follow him.
Right.
So you got to understand that there
Hmm.
is certain things that certain people are meant to know and others are not meant to know. But it's up to you to decide. So what you may believe is different than what I believe. And that's okay. And that's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
find. I'm trying to let you know that's okay. You can believe something different. I can believe something different. That's what still building is all about. We all got different faiths and beliefs on this show, and we don't have no problems. We ain't disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to convert anybody. Nobody trying to convert me.
Yeah.
We all just trying to understand. You know what I'm saying? So it's just an
Yeah.
understanding that we're trying to come to.
Let
So
me let me let me. I wanna tag on to that too because I saw that. Shout out to Dee Dee for asking that. Do you all believe in Jesus? That Jesus is Lord like I do? Hell no. But I'm saying that for comic relief. I lean, just like my brother Marifa. Look, belief is based on acts of faith, not supported by facts. I
hmm
don't believe
Right.
shit. I could tell you
Well,
what I know,
right,
but belief is like, oh yeah, I believe I'll be able to get up tomorrow morning and take my ass in there to the gym, right? That's a belief.
right,
But unless
mhm,
I carry out the rest of that, belief is based on acts of faith. Remember, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
oh
All
yeah,
of this is not supported by facts.
exactly.
It's not supported by facts. It don't become fact until the mission is completed,
right,
right? Part of that mission completion
Indeed.
is remembering other things that happened. Like when I was a little children, they used to have the bookmobile, and there was a saying that reading is fundamental, right? When
right,
you read, when you read,
Yep.
you're supposed to, put yourself into character, right? So I'm gonna ask this, when you read the Bible, when did you become Jesus? Were you ever Joseph? Did you understand Mary's point of view? Did you understand Simon's point of view? Did you understand Satan's point of view? Did you
right,
understand? Like, you got to go into character with each person that you read because remember, just like any other story, any other book that you read, that pretty much in order to understand who the protagonist is, who the antagonist is, you still have to go through processes of human thought, right?
right,
So hell no. I've been Jesus when I was 12, I sat in a room full of deacons and was asked questions that I can answer, but I asked these dudes questions and they couldn't answer my questions. So
yeah,
yeah, I was Jesus when I was 12, right? I was
yeah,
Jesus when I was 33 and stepped away from organized religion and religiosity,
right,
right? When I say, yeah, now I gotta die to this too, because I took the time to flush it out of my system, you know. Like so many people out there, I grew up in the inner city where my parents said, you know what, you're getting dumber in public school. I'm gonna put you in private school. So I went to a Christian parochial school, right?
yeah,
Grew up with the Bible, was taught how to read the Bible, right? Was also shown literature, right? And how to read and how to pick apart a story, right?
right,
And again, into my research into this thing called, the Jesus thing or the Christos mythos, right? Um, you find out some interesting things. Like I'm listening to Marifa say, he went to those places. Well, you wasn't the first person in history to do that, but I'm gonna tell you one of the first ones to do it was Constantine's mother, right?
hmm
You go back and you read the councils of Nicaea, starting with the first council of Nicaea. Constantine, mother had converted to Christianity. Constantine himself died a pagan.
right,
Hooray for him! Good for him! Good for him! Right? But his mama had adopted this Christianity as a religion, and she went over to Jerusalem to look for things.
right,
Right? And got there, and they sent an emissary back and said, "Look, man, she ain't found nothing." He said, "Well, just start naming them. You found a piece of a wall, say that's the Wailing Wall. You saw a hill in the middle of town, okay, that'll be the hill of the Mount of Golgotha, right?"
yeah,
And just made shit up, right? So understand too that that place in history, that country that's modern day Israel, had also been invaded by Arabs, right?
and the
Before the
Greeks,
four
and the Romans
and
and
the
the Greeks
Greeks and the
before them.
Romans and the Greeks and
Yeah,
the Hyksos and a whole lot of people that ran up through there, right, over history, right? So again, this comes by
Mhm.
researching things, right? And it was just me. It was my spirit to do this, right? It
Yeah.
was nobody that said, hey, man, you wrong and you need to do this. No, I had always known that, hey, this ain't for me because I didn't vibe a certain way with certain things, you know, and I went through the torturous, you know, the propaganda of movies designed to scare you into repenting and giving your life to Christ. Like,
Oh, they got
the
another
day,
one coming out in April called The
see,
Possession of the Pope. It's in April. They do one every
all
year.
jokes.
Remember that? The Conjuring,
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Possession of the
yeah,
Pope.
But, you know, having said that, you know,
all of that stuff, man. But you know what? Here's the deal, right? Even with those things that are designed to try to scare you or whatever the case, man, if you are truly believing what the Bible says, then greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world.
right.
All of these things that are designed to scare you, man, you shouldn't have any fear.
See what?
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. See what?
Because that, and my thing is this, man. A lot of people get into studying the Bible or whatever the case, and they study the Bible, man, basically for head knowledge and not for the spirituality of it in terms of actually changing their lives, changing the way that they approach things. You know, I just want to know. I just want to know. Well, yeah, okay, you read, you know, you studied, and you know, you can go beyond. But the bottom line is what the design is for,
Yeah,
right? The design is for us to be able to have the human experience on this earth and a spiritual experience on this earth and still all get along, right? Without killing each other and this, that, and the other, man, you know, which is what so many people get into. And even for the purpose of debate, you know, some people study, man, just for the purpose of debate.
yeah,
Well, this is this and this and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, again, your life experiences will narrate the story of your life.
yeah,
So again, if the experience is negative, you're gonna lean towards the negative. If the experience is positive, you're gonna lean towards the positive. And again, gleaning, right? What can I get from this that's going to be beneficial for me
Right. Yeah.
in my walk? What I want to accomplish, what I want to leave behind as a legacy to the world. You know,
I say this, man.
yeah,
all of these things are tied up into that.
Yeah. I say this, man. There is beauty in all religions, right? A wise person once told me that. You know, there's beauty in all religions. You can find beauty in everything. You know what I'm saying? So just like the
Yeah,
aspects of going to heaven, like, you know, Delise posted here. I don't know if y'all can see that comment. She said, well, heaven is, yes, I will never doubt believing in Jesus, but to each his own, right?
yeah.
So the
That's what I'm gonna
belief,
say.
mm-hmm.
That's what I'm gonna say.
yeah,
Believe in you. You know what I'm saying? That's
yeah.
that's 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 the whole thing. It's look again.
Nobody's trying to convert you into do whatever. You
Yeah,
do
it could
whatever
do
you feel.
anything.
You do
Exactly.
whatever you
Believe
feel
what the
that you
fuck you
need.
want to
Believe.
believe.
Yes, believe
Right.
what you want to
Believe.
believe.
Look, I'm
We're
gonna
not here
tell
to debate
you.
right or wrong.
I'm
We here to just
yeah.
understand.
I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you. I believe in you,
Right.
even when you don't believe in yourself. You know what I'm saying? And I gotta spit
Okay.
this real quick because look, in your Bible, in the book of Psalms, right? It tells you that ye are gods, but ye shall die like men, right?
Right.
Everything in some kind of way. And again, you don't have to go into the etymology. You don't have to get the Strong's exhaustive concordance to look up the word God and this whole shebang. I'm just going to give it to you like an acronym. You are gods, right? You're a generator, you're an operator, and you're a destroyer. You're a
Right.
generator of thought. You're an operator of your own ship, and you're a destroyer of anything that comes against what your core understanding is, right? So again, with the whole belief thing, hey, I'm just going to tell you, I believe in you when you don't believe in yourself. You know what I mean? Because there's so many aspects of this that, again, it still goes back to what I was saying. When do you become Jesus? It's about your action. Ain't about
Right.
your fucking words. It ain't about going nowhere or whatever. It's about what do you do, and that's what Jack was saying, which is it gives you the outline of how to be civil. That's
Right.
what religion was created for. Religion was created for the uncivilized to make them civilized. And guess what?
Yes.
It didn't work. It didn't work. But it's the underpinnings of this.
Okay.
Are you doing the things that you believe? Are you being charitable? Are you going out and doing the things? Hey, this person don't believe like I do, but they need help. I'm still going to help them. They ask for
Hmm.
directions. I'm not going to send
Hmm.
them the wrong way. I'm not going to go up and see an old lady and then push her in front of a bus, right?
Right.
Again, it's if you're looking at
Right.
it as a moral code, then morality is shared amongst humanity, so it's not limited to just your belief, right?
Hmm.
It's about everyone's actions. So there's a way to ascertain above that and then understand the whole Christos mythos and the Jesus thing. The whole theme of that is a path of redemption that a person can turn around, right? That they can
Right.
repent, they can change their ways. So that's the constant. If you have reach that level of understanding like I did, like my Reefa did, like Jack has, like you obviously
Hmm.
have, then it's not a thing of wearing it on your sleeve and always gotta, promote whatever. No, because you're doing it. You
Right.
know,
And
you
prove
you
you don't
you
have to
about
prove
that
nothing
life.
to nobody. Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have to prove
Because
anything to anybody.
yeah, it's going to
Exactly.
exemplify in the way you treat others, the way that you interact with
There it
people,
is.
the way that
Yeah.
it's your actions. So all of
There
that
it is.
talk, about being
Ain't worth
facade
shit.
and fake. It's a movie
Right.
out there that's called Honk for Jesus. I don't know if y'all ever seen this movie.
Yeah,
Honk
man.
Oh,
for Jesus. That's one of
honkies for
my favorites.
Jesus.
Yeah, so they were fronting, trying to promote
That's
this
all.
church, to be, into this
Yeah.
community and stuff like that to get this church. But behind the scenes, they really about that money. They
Hmm.
really about
Yeah.
that bread. So your actions don't line up with what
Exactly.
you're trying to be. So you have
Right.
to, as a Christian, calling yourself a Christian, you have to line yourself up according to the principles that are identified with Jesus
Now you're
Christ.
talking.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So your core
Yes.
actions should be that
Exactly.
of love. Your
Exactly.
core actions should be that of compassion. Your core actions should be that of empathy and joy and happiness. You know what I'm saying? And being able to take care of people and things of that nature, reach out and try to help and all that. That's what your core reaction should be.
And
And
that
I,
brings that
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
that that, that brings me back to the question that I asked. Okay, so why are you asking this question? Is the Bible really the word of God? You see what I'm
Right.
saying? Is it
Right.
because again you don't want to conform? You know what I'm saying? You don't want to conform to biblical teachings? Maybe that's the reason you ask that question.
Who ain't
Right.
Do
about
you
getting
just
that
really
money
want to
though?
know for head knowledge? Is it something that you're seeking in regards to changing your life? Man, I'd have missed the joke.
No, see, look, Delete
He
said
talking
who ain't
about
about getting that money.
get that money though.
Oh,
Get money. To
Right,
get
hey,
get
money.
money. Hey, hey, ha, ha,
but,
ha. Get money.
but
Okay, but
even that, man, even that is a part of Christianity, right? Because it tells you in Ecclesiastes, money answers all things.
right.
So things, right? Things are stuff that we acquire. No money, no things.
Yeah.
You see? So
Money is a
so
defense.
so
Bible
yeah.
tell you money is a defense.
Not
You
Right.
gotta
not
have a
only that, man.
turnus.
You
You
use
gotta
money
high
to further your
lawyers.
causes.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Zach.
man.
Hmm.
Go ahead, Zach.
You use money to further your causes. We talked about this on the last podcast, man.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
terms of having political influence.
Yeah.
Political influence is those dead presidents.
Right. Yeah,
You
Yeah.
know,
exactly.
so if you want to further any cause, you got to have that money. And again, the Bible addresses, man, so many of the things that we talk about on a daily basis. So many of the things that we talked about on this podcast. And again, if you apply those principles, then you should see the fruit of your labor.
It's amazing
Yeah.
to me, man, how the Bible emphasize money. That was, and it was allegedly written. The Bible was allegedly written during the BC era. That's what they say, right? But it has been proven that it's been written in the AD era. Okay, the Amo Demi. It was not in the BC era. They tried to depict
Yeah,
the
BCE.
stories. Yeah, they tried to
Yeah,
depict the stories in the
before
BC era.
Christ.
When you look at BC, before Christ
Mhm.
era, right? So in
Well,
the
they
AD era,
changed that too. You know, now
yeah,
it's
they changed
before
that too.
Common Era.
Yeah,
Common Era,
they
right?
changed all of that stuff.
But
But the
in terms
money
of money, though,
aspect of
man,
it, yeah,
in
in
ter-
terms of money, how are they talking about money
do you
during
love
those
money?
times? And money wasn't even a thing back then. It was all barter system. Let me trade you some silk for this ivory. Let me trade you some salt
For the
for this
most part.
sugar.
Shit, niggas had money. They had coins back then. The Bible tell you about shekels and
But
Yeah,
omers
the
and all of
coins
that.
was
But
they really didn't mean nothing. They was just a means for you to identify who you
but
belonged with, what group or
yeah,
tribe.
yeah, I'm with see. Yeah, I got you. I got you. But yeah, listen.
It wasn't used
Ultimately,
for a form of currency.
not like now, but
Yeah, not
right.
right now. Yeah,
yeah,
bartering was
yeah,
the main source of
Mm.
commerce back then.
yeah, yeah.
Trade
That
this
was
for that.
currency. Bartering was
Yes,
currency, and then
Yeah.
money was considered like today is a fiat currency.
right,
It has replaced that, right? The
Hmm.
money and coins were like a token
Exactly.
right. A
of
token to get you through, or show an identity. This is who I belong with, what tribe and stuff like that. But it was really like, okay, how many sheep do you got? How many goats do you have? You have any
yeah. You
cattle?
wasn't
Let me
nothing if
trade.
you didn't have no cows, man. You
Yeah,
wasn't
man.
shit.
Right.
All of that. That that that
So
determines your wealth.
Yeah,
yes,
That's
that
what
determined
determines
your
your wealth.
yes.
And the same thing, right? Like with the money system, the changes over the years. So as with the interpretations of the Bible, or the transliteration of the Bible, which we talked about before as well. There are some words that didn't transfer. You know what I'm saying? So we don't have the universal currency. We don't have the universal language.
language.
Is
Yeah,
only one thing that we have found to be universal so far, and that is the DNA that was found in the bones in Africa.
Right.
Right.
right,
That's right.
So
right.
that's the one thing. That's the one thing that's universal right now that I know of.
Right.
So
You said
it's
something
always
that
gonna be some
was,
differences, man. It's always gonna be some.
yeah.
So what now?
You, no, I was just saying when you say universal,
And so
Go ahead, Jack.
yeah, finish that. I'm gonna let you finish, then I'll go.
Yeah.
I think it's a delay.
Go
well,
ahead, Jack.
again, it's always going to be something to debate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because for one, not everybody's gonna have the same amount of knowledge. Two, not everybody's gonna speak the same language. Three, not everybody comes from the same place or background.
yeah,
And this is something that I thought about a long time ago, and that is the lines of separatism. So, what are these things that keep us apart? You know what I'm saying? We
yeah,
have geology, being geographical location, thought process, the mental aspects of life, religion, so on and so forth. It's so
yeah.
many things that we can find.
Race,
Even the hue and
money,
color, yeah, the
social
hue and
status.
color of our skin. Because really, in essence, there's only one race, and that's the human race. But
Human race,
you know,
Exactly.
exactly.
so yeah, you know,
Yeah,
so that's what binds us together. But we're looking at all of these things that keep us apart, the lines of
separate.
separatism.
Yep, things that keep us separate. That's like, when you were growing up, you were told, it's two things you don't discuss: religion and politics, right?
Oh, I love to talk about
Well,
it.
I
Exactly.
do too. I do
I love
too,
to talk
right?
about it.
But the reason why those were the two subjects that were chosen to, because those keep us out of like debating. If I'm not talking religion with you, then we should agree on everything, right? We got to change this tire. We got to change this tire. We ain't got to change this tire in Buddha's name. We got to change this tire in the name of Allah. We ain't got to change this tire in the name of Jehovah, right? Or we got to
Okay.
change this goddamn tire. So let's change
Right.
this tire.
Right.
Like you don't go up, and at work, you got to go make copies, and you standing there waiting for somebody to finish, and just yeah. So if you do, right, you might ask for it, and you start sharing your political and wearing your political on your goddamn sleeves, then you know you may start something. So people notice, stay away from them conversations when I'm at
Yeah.
the workplace, right? In the same way in public, you can't just go out and start calling people
Hmm.
names and think you ain't gonna get popped in the mouth, right?
Right.
So, if you're saying
Yeah.
things
Okay.
to incite other people, if you're saying things to rile other people up, you pretty much doing some crummy human stuff, right? And
Right.
in my youth, I was that dude. I didn't matter to me. I debate with you. We go toe to toe, and I'm gonna chop anything you say up, and I'm gonna have the last word. But as you get older, you realize, what, that was all just foolish. That was just all, me,
Right.
my ego, right? Feeding my own
Egotistic.
ego.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Egotistic.
feeding my own ego because I made this person cry, or I made this Jewish person run all the way across the street because I'm speaking Yiddish to them, right? And it just shocked the shit out of them or whatever, right? So
Right.
again, um, to each their own, again, only thing I believe in is your black ass. You know what I'm saying? I believe in you
Right.
because I can see you.
Right.
I believe in you because I can see, but when I don't see you, I don't believe in you.
Right.
I believe in you when you don't believe in yourself. But if you want to hear some things that I know, I can show you how to get the answers to a lot of them goddamn questions that people have. And if you're fine in what you do, I'm just gonna say, do a little bit more.
Yeah.
Always
Oh yeah.
strive to be the best. You know what I
Look.
mean? Always. I'm not gonna
Exactly.
tell nobody to be a slacker. Oh no, it's okay. Just the minimum is the maximum, right? No, if you're gonna do something, if you're one of them ones that want to stand up and tell somebody else how they supposed to do their stuff, then you make sure your grass is clean, right? You make sure that your lawn
Come
is
on.
clear. You make sure that
Come
your
on.
household is in order. I mean, that's lottie dottie everybody, right? But again,
Hmm.
it's not limited to one person, right? And again, it goes back to that universal nature of humans. And Jack was speaking about that. What things are universal?
Right.
Love is
Hmm.
universal. Division is
Right.
universal. So where do we
Hmm.
fit in between love and division with other human beings? How do we move without pissing nobody off, right? And that ultimately becomes the goal.
To a
How
certain
do
degree.
I yeah, because I'm trying to take care of me and mine, you
Right.
know. There was a time I would tell you when I was a Christian, I say, I'm too busy trying to save my own black ass to work than worrying about somebody else, right?
Right.
Because I know it was about me working out my salvation,
Right.
right?
Right.
I can't work it out for you, right?
Bible
It's about
tells
me doing this and trembling in
your
fear, right?
own
I
salvation.
don't fear a goddamn thing and I ain't scared of shit. So, you
Right.
know, I grew beyond that portion of it to understand, oh, this was just a motivator to get my mind right to deal with anything out here, right? And that's what I hope you people are getting out of whatever religions you subscribe to, right? Like
Hmm.
somebody asked a question about well, they made a comment, we all serve the same God. No, we don't. No, we don't.
Yeah. I think that was
But
Big Tony.
Well, you
yeah,
know
Shout out
what,
yeah.
to the chat.
man?
But
Shout out to the chat room. My man
I'm a,
Boosie.
and I
My
have
man
to say
Boosie in
Check
the
this.
check
chat.
this out though, right?
Shout out to
Let me
Boosie in
just
the chat.
finish real quick, then I'm gonna let Jack go.
Go
Let me
ahead. Go
just
ahead.
finish, and I'm just saying what serve, right? Again, I don't serve. I don't serve. That's servitude, man. That's servitude, right? That's 14th Amendment, 13th Amendment. There should be no voluntary, no involuntary servitude, right? I don't serve shit, right? But I understand the notion of we all serve the same God, right? If we're saying that
Hmm.
this God is the source. And I believe that's what the brother meant,
Right.
right? This is the source. We all part of the source, right? So again, body it hard, but be that. You don't have to say nothing. Just be it.
Be it.
Be it.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be it.
Hey,
Go
mhm.
ahead. Go
In
ahead.
terms of serving, right? We serve humanity, right? Or we should serve humanity. We should be looking for ways to make our lives better and other people's lives better. So in doing that, right, I'm gonna take you to Psalm 85:15. Have I not said that ye are gods?
Gods.
You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? So yeah, if you're serving God, then you're serving other people. If you're serving other people, then you're serving God. So it all ties in together in that regard and in that manner of serving.
You know,
Uh,
there's a
one
saying,
thing that I
Lucia,
was gonna
man.
say as well, man, in return, in regards to us all serving the same God, is only one, man. I've always believed that regardless of what religion I was practicing or studying or whatever the case, it's only one God.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Whatever you
way I look
call
at
it. Yeah, whatever you call it. Like Kit was saying, that's source.
it. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's the source
You
of
what?
all
Yeah.
living
Whatever
beings.
name you choose, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Look, there's this, right? Again, God is a word. You know, last poets told us what God is dog spelled backwards, right? And the
Right.
white man's got a God complex, and guess what? The black man got a God complex too. All I'm saying is, you know, become loquacious and
Mhm.
verbose with your repertoire of words, right? Because it's harder for me to say this, but I think it has a heavier impact, right? I recognize the divinity in you,
Right.
right? I recognize the divinity in you. And then you
Yes.
say back to me, hey, I recognize the divinity in you. I
Right.
can't do nothing wrong to you now. You're not going to be mad at
Mhm.
me. I'm not going to be mad at you because I recognize the divinity in you, not God,
Right.
not Allah, not Buddha.
All
I
right.
don't see that shit in you. I see divinity in you
Right.
because you've heard me say it before, and I'm going to continue to say this, right? We are all divinity incarnate having the human experience. You are divinity incarnate. So this whole notion of God is actually a word that don't even describe what my full thought is. And that's why I went into the etymology earlier. That doesn't even express how high, when I have another word that really describes what my intent is. My intent is I recognize divinity in you.
Right.
I
Yeah.
recognize the divinity in you. I don't recognize God in you because that's just one step in the process. But the divinity is it's just me. I'm not saying anybody wrong for what you do, just me. It's harder for me to say that to people too, because now I know I have to act accordingly. I have to behave accordingly because now I done placed divinity upon you.
Right. You got to
Right?
treat somebody like you would want to be treated.
Thank you.
The
Hey,
golden
Thank
rule,
you.
the universal law of Ma'at.
listen.
You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead, Jack.
Exactly. Hey, Kip, you remember, man? We talked about 360 degrees of life, right?
Yeah,
Ashes to ashes, dust to
dust
dust,
to dust.
spirit to spirit, knowledge to knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So if your spirit came from God, then your spirit is going back to God
Right.
unless that circle is broken. So I'm trying to complete my circle without it being broken because that broken circle, in my way of thinking, that's hell. You
Oh
see what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Because
You
you're gonna
didn't
come back.
reach the point of returning back to where you come from.
Back to
Right.
source. See, again, that's that. See, okay, so here's an unfair advantage that I have, right? As a practitioner, as a practitioner of magic, right? And being disciplined enough to understand hypnotherapy, right? And being disciplined enough to know how to astroplane and have out of body experiences, right? I'm
Mm.
not waiting until I die to understand death or the transition and just being absent from my physical body, right?
Right.
This
Right.
is me. This is not me speaking for nobody else other than me and my experiences, right? So when it and Jack alluded to this, we have different experiences in this life too, right? Um, it was alluded to earlier too. We all in our own vehicles on our own roads, going our own speeds, right?
Right. Right.
Again, Jack said it wonderfully. He said, "Hey, I stay in my lane. I stick with the things that I know, right? I'm supportive of anybody who's able to articulate their thought in a way that's harmonious with other humans, right? But see, that's me. That's
Right.
me. The words that I just expressed are me. And that absence away from the source is something that I learned. This is what the ancestors left us, was that we were supposed to build that kind of relationship with the all, right?
Right.
With divinity, with the netter, right?
Right.
The neteru, right? We're supposed to understand nature and the art and science of our connection with these things, right? So
All living.
again,
All
there's
living.
no, there's no right and wrong. There's humans having a human experience. We are
Right.
all part of the source, right? I'm in connection with the source and the spirits that exist on that side, right? I
Right.
do ancestor veneration, right? So I talk to my ancestors and your ancestors too,
Right.
right? I can have conversations with Michael Jackson if I want to. I can have conversations with some of the greatest comedians that ever existed,
Tell Pac
right?
I said, what's up, man? That's my
See, that's kind of hard because he ain't
shout
an
out one time to
ancestor.
Pac.
Look, that's hard because he ain't an ancestor. That nigga living in Havana, Cuba right now.
Oh, he's
But
not. Okay, that's what's up.
I've been trying to reach him, you know, trying to. Everybody, Biggie been telling me, no, he's still there. He's still there. I'm just telling you, you know.
All right,
So,
yeah. He got a cell phone number. I need to
Hey, what
tap
we got
in.
going on, man?
yes, yes,
Go
yes.
ahead, man.
But,
Go
you
ahead, man.
know, I'm just saying, you know, to each their own. Like, I fell into my lane. You know, you guys have heard me on this podcast before say that I'm a black goat from a black sheep family. I'm not even a sheep, you know, but I know who I am. And I implore everyone to know who you are, because what is the oldest adage? Man, know thyself. Know
That's right.
you.
That's
Know
right.
you. I know me.
You
That's why I
better
say I
know.
don't believe in nothing.
You
I
better
could
be
say I
able.
believe in you, but there was a song when I was a little children, and one of the lines goes, "Believe in yourself." Right? I took
Yeah.
that to heart. I believe in me. I know that my thoughts I have to balance. Right? We talked about this before. Pac on TikTok. Yeah, that's right.
Boosie crazy. Boosie said, Pac on TikTok.
Boosie there with me though. Shit. But yeah, you know, there's we know everything's supposed to be done in balance, right? In harmonism, right? And that's what this is about. We live in a binary existence, right? Where everything we're taught has a polar opposite. But again, this is alchemy. But when you consider, I'll give you hot and I'll give you cold. And you go, you know what? I don't want to be cold. I don't want to be hot. I got to bring them together, mix some hot water with some cold water. Now it's perfect. I can get in there, right?
Balance.
That's how we do everything. You
Yeah.
take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and then you have what? The facts of life.
Balance. Yeah, the facts.
Then
That's a
you got the
balance.
facts of life, man. You got two of
Right.
them coming out with the
The
skates
facts of
on and
life.
everything.
Yeah.
The facts of life. But you know, I mean, it was in the songs that we heard growing up on TV. It just, you know, them little things, right? And that's why I'm saying, like, it comes from all kind of sources when you could tune in and realize, hey, I'm getting pictograms, I'm getting messages, I'm getting things that are all designed and actually being operated by spirit on your behalf in this fucked up world that we live in to
Right.
help you stay on path, right? So for my Christians, you see things that remind you of the tenets of your religion that let you know I'm on the right path.
Right.
For my Muslims, there are things that go down in your life that are messages, and you recognize, oh, bing, the light goes on. I know not to go there. I know
Right.
that I shouldn't leave the house right now, whatever, right? What I'm saying is tune your black ass into those things, because this is what all of this leads back to. When we break it all down and we go section by section and we start explaining what these things, that's right, nature tells no lies, right? When we break it down to these are the aspects of what's going on, that's the universal, that's what's universal.
Right.
Is that, you know, look, in the Bible it tells you that there's no sin or temptation that has not befallen man, right? That's kind of like giving you an inclination to ain't nothing happened to you that ain't happened to nobody else, right? But remember this,
Exactly.
it's how we deal with those situations that start making that path for you. Like the brother was saying, you know, hey, I don't want to do stuff here that's gonna disrupt my natural process of life to death, life to death, life to death, right?
Right.
Realize that death is just transition. You will be aware when you die. You will know I'm leaving my body, right?
Right.
Go
Mm-hmm.
to the light. Go to the light, right? But just know that once you're there, all them answers that you didn't get here, you will have on that side,
Right.
right?
All your Akashic records will come back. They will be
It's
unlocked.
you're gonna see your life in a 360-degree panoramic view,
Yeah.
right? And like Earth, Wind, and Fire
Escape to the
said,
light.
it'll be your life that's brought into review, right?
Right.
Check out the word that song fantasy, man. It's all in there, right?
Oh yeah.
Every man has a place in his heart, there's a space, and the world can't erase his fantasy.
Yeah.
You got to go back into that. Some of y'all need to study some Earth,
Mm-hmm.
Wind, and Fire album covers and like fall into the little fantasy of picturing yourself there, right?
The elements.
So there's
Yeah.
a lot of aspects
Mm-hmm.
of things that again I encourage people. If you're a Christian and you're into the New Testament, check out Gnosticism. Check out um, the aspects of what it is that you're reading and how that applies to alchemy and your conveyance through this world, right? If you into the Old Testament and you love Yah the Baoth, then check out the mysticism that's
Right.
found in the Old Testament because those are the things that actually will show you, oh, this is the same as this over here. When you're in the Old Testament, look how many times you see on the first day of the third month, right? On
Right.
the 21st day of the first month of the
Mm-hmm.
new
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
year.
That's
And
how it's written.
how,
Yeah.
yeah, how these things
Right.
correspond with the moon, right?
Right.
Again, this is the art and the science of causing change to
Mm-hmm.
occur and with conformity with will. When you read those things, then you understand, hey, these people were into moon and sun and knowing when it was time. Just so you know, they had almanac, right? Like
Right.
all that. You could fantasize that, do whatever, but just stay away from the religious side. And I salute all my black preachers and ministers and deacons that I have seen a lot of you that say some dynamite shit that if I was a believer, you would have had my black ass hooked, right?
Right.
I have seen some dynamite brothers out here and sisters that have said things that, hey, that was the message that people needed to hear. So again, I'm not knocking you.
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
knocking anybody. If you could make somebody realize that they need to turn over a new leaf and they really reach that point where, hey, I'm tired
Yes.
of recidivism, right? I went to jail, I got out of jail, I'm back in jail. Eventually, hey, that's the system's way or divinity's way of showing you can't keep doing shit the wrong way and expecting for it to turn out right or whichever way you want it. You can't keep doing the same
Mm-hmm.
experiment the same way and expecting a different outcome,
Yeah,
right?
you gotta grow, man, because that's like
Yeah,
the Bible says
Right.
that you need to eventually stop drinking milk and start eating meat. Okay,
yeah, you got to bring them off
that's
the
Exactly.
titty,
so
man.
that
But look,
expression is to say
Got to
that you
be
need to
weaned.
grow. You need to grow and
yep.
evolve. You need to just okay. You started here. All right, you learned these principles. You're doing those things. That's great. Now you need to go to the next
Mm-hmm.
stage, the next level of that understanding and
Exactly.
grow. So
Yeah,
don't just stay stagnant. And a lot of people do that because it's comfort. You know what I'm saying? They
yeah,
stay stagnant
Mm-hmm.
because of the comfortability and it feels safe. Okay. So the safety of
Right.
being in that spot. So, like somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was Delise about going to heaven. You know what I'm saying? Heaven is a concept in your mind. So if
yeah,
you're going to heaven, you can
All
be,
right.
thinking in your mind all the time, I'm going to heaven, going to heaven. So when you transition, your whole mind state is that of blissful, happiness,
yes,
joy in this heaven, not what you see described in the book, which is streets paved of gold, pearly gates, and houses, mansions, and stuff like that. You can see all that stuff on Earth.
All right.
All right, so you can see Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you see some stuff that's on
Yeah.
Earth in heaven if heaven's supposed to be this magnificent place? So heaven is a state of mind, but you need to grow and evolve and understand. You know, reach beyond the literal. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out
and
of your
which heaven?
safety net.
Look, which heaven you talking about? Because heaven is also the canopy of the stars that are above the planet that we see. That
Yeah,
is
yeah,
also
Right.
referred to heaven, right?
yeah,
So,
It is.
again, what limitation are you setting for yourself? If you just pigeonholing it into heaven is just where I go when I die, then shame on you, right? I'm gonna give you a real quick secret, right?
Yeah,
it's
man.
it's like when you do meditations, create what some refer to as a celestial sanctum, right? Create a safe place in your mind and like start pimping this place out. So when if you're in yoga and you're doing, if you go into the sauna and you're finding that silent spot within yourself, start to visualize something. Start putting together the house that you always wanted to live in. Start putting together, a place that, hey, if you're older and if you're sick, you better start thinking about that right now. Where the hell you want to go? I'm
They
just
talking
saying,
about
like,
that now. They saying
go.
that that's like a
Yes.
virtual thing they're trying to make now. They call it the metaverse, or what do they call
Yeah.
it? The metaverse. They trying to create that same
Okay.
prism right now, the way you should be thinking about your life when you pass and transition from this existence. They're trying to create that here on Earth
Here.
right now
Yeah.
with an artificial type of existence. You know what I'm saying? A
Yeah. It'll
metaverse.
it'll be like Vanilla Sky, where
Well,
you
I can
can
say
Yeah,
enter
this,
the
man.
closed
exactly.
loop.
When I was 16 years old, uh, felt like I was in hell, and I thought at that point, I don't want
You
to live
knew
in
it was
hell and die
mine,
and go to
man.
hell too.
Yes,
I
yes,
don't
Exactly.
want to
brother.
live
Yes,
in hell and die and go
yes.
to hell too. So I got to find something better.
Yeah,
That's
and see,
right,
that's
brother.
fear. That's fear. That fear moved you
It's motivation.
it motivated you to be able to go into a different direction. Now, some people fear will stagnate them and keep them in place. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? So it's all how you use the fear. So in church you
Hmm.
get this message. Message is trying to tell you of stay away from hell and don't do these sinful things and or else you're going to hell. I had a pastor once. When I was going to church as a Christian, he would say, the minute you die, boom, you in heaven, or boom, you straight in hell instantly. And I'm like, wait, what? Wait a minute. That kind of like made me think about what does it mean? How does this guy know? You know what I'm saying? Don't nobody know no absolute for sure. But we can understand and rationalize with our minds because God, the source, gave us the ability to think. Or else we wouldn't have this consciousness in our mind to be able to rationalize. So you
Yeah.
got to be able to
Right,
decipher the
right.
difference. You see what I'm saying? You got to be able to decipher the difference and understand that you're not supposed to stay stagnant. Your energy is meant to grow and evolve and move, not to stay fearful in one spot and be afraid to even
Exactly.
go outside of your house or something like that,
Man,
or talk to people, or
Right.
because you think like, oh, something is bad is going to happen, I'm gonna be
I'm
sinning
afraid of
and
everything.
I'm gonna go to hell if I do this. You know what I'm saying? Be like, come on, man. You got to think
Yeah.
outside of that and be able to be not afraid. Get rid of fear. And I know people hope. You know what I'm saying? I get hope.
Hmm.
I know
Yeah.
hope is something that we want to continue to do because you want to hope that. But see, hope is like you hope to see your loved ones when you go again. You hope to see, your grandma, dad, mothers, you know what I'm saying, sisters and brothers and children and all that stuff like that. You hope to see them again on the other side. Okay, that's good to
Mm.
continue to have hope. But
Yeah.
the fear is, oh, I ain't gonna be able to see them no more if I sin and do this and I'm go to hell. That's the opposite.
See.
It's a duality there. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So you got to be able to get over that fear, but continue to understand and believe that we're all spirit. Your spirit is not gonna die. Like us, right? Here on this Still Building podcast, we were cosmic friends, like Kit said. Before we entered into this realm, we met in Germany.
Exactly.
You see what
Yep.
I'm saying? So we had to meet at a
Yep.
certain specific time in history on this planet to be able to come together and be able to build. And we still building to this day.
Exactly.
You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So for us to
But
be able to
big.
come together, we had to know each other in the spiritual realm. We
Yeah.
agreed. We all agreed to come together in Germany and remind ourselves what
Right.
to be able to grow. Because each one of us, like Kit was saying, are here on this planet to have a personal life experience. What
Right.
is it that you're supposed
Hmm.
to experience in this life? I got something different than I'm supposed to experience than you. You have something different that you're supposed to experience. But I'm trying
Exactly.
to let you know that it's possible for you to experience what I'm going through as well, if you so choose to.
Right.
You see what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So when you transition, you may remember this conversation you've seen on Still Building Podcasts and say, I want to experience that now. Let me go back, reincarnate, and try that. because I did this already. Let me go back and experience that. So all of
Yeah.
these choices are yours. You see what I'm saying? And it's a free will. That's what they say
The
with Bible.
choice
The Bible
is
and the mention is through free
yours.
will. The choice is yours. You got to decide.
You can get with this or you can
Or you
get
can
with
get with
that.
that. That's what I'm saying,
Right?
bro. You can get with this or that, but you got to grow. You can't stay fearful.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Don't let fear let that paralysis sink
Amen.
in, and now you're so scared that you can't move forward. You know. And again, I'll say something similar, but like a little
Exactly.
different. Which yeah, don't let that fear cripple you from stepping outside of your comfort zone. Right. Some people let their ignorance,
Hmm.
and we we have all heard that before. We some people let their ignorance, which is like their crippling side, prevent them from picking up a book, prevent them from picking up a phone, right? And calling and
Hmm.
asking about the person that you just had an
Yeah.
inclination about. Oh, I feel like something bad happened. I'm not gonna call them, right?
Right.
I cringe when you were just stationed in church only. Yes, yes. Um,
Yeah, you gotta you
you
gotta
know, don't let
you gotta
those
be
things cripple you, like, again, we all are vets, but shit,
Indeed.
before I entered the army, I
Fear,
learned,
fear is
hey,
in
you got to conquer
opposition
your
of
fear.
there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with the church. There's nothing, absolutely
No.
nothing wrong with the church, but you got to be able to decipher what it
Yep.
is you're there to get from the church for your personal journey. You
Like
see
my
what I'm
brother
saying?
said, man, that's a
Mhm.
foundation that most of us
Yep.
identify with because we're in North America, we're people of color. We went through things that those that introduced us to it identify with it, right? They introduced us to it because they identify with it. And just like with our names, you didn't choose your
Hmm.
name. Somebody gave you your name, right? And your name has a power in it based on what they felt like you were supposed to accomplish here, just based on your name, right?
Right,
Think about it. Juniors are oftentimes thought to
Hmm.
what? Replicate the same thing that senior did,
right,
right? So, there was something that they purposed for you, but remember that's just a starter. It's just an introduction. You're supposed to take it and then outdo the person that gave it to you. All parents want their children to do better than them, right? And it's the same way with things like religion and
Hmm.
spirituality. That person that employed that to you, and came and said, hey, look, we going to church and get your sister ready, get your brother ready. Let's all get in the car and we gonna go. Then, like Bootsy is saying, church was a stepping stone, right? It was a stepping stone. Yeah, he watched Hidden Colors in '07. Shout out to brother Tariq Nasheed, and haven't looked back since. Awesome, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. See, and that's the thing. It's exposure, right? And again, I said it earlier. A lot of you are on these, platforms, and you're seeing excerpts from um, Hidden Colors, and you're seeing excerpts from African ancestry, and you're seeing excerpts from things. A lot of you owe it to yourselves to go back and research those and see if you can find the full documentary. A lot of things are broken down in vignettes on YouTube, right? Most of Hidden Colors used to be on YouTube and you could see them, but I highly employ everyone, if you haven't, check out the Hidden Color series. You ain't got to agree or disagree, but open your eyes to something that, again, we a lot of us don't venerate our own scholars. We got people that are
right.
scholars in every field under the sun, but you'll
Yeah.
snub your nose at Dr.
Dr.
Yeah.
Ben,
Westling, and
you know what I'm
and
saying?
yeah, Dr.
John Henry Clark,
Amos, and yeah, Dr.
Hmm.
King
Amos
Dr. Diop,
Wilson, and yeah, we will
Priscilla.
snub our noses at them, but
Yeah,
these are the scholars that, believe it or not, people in other places in the world are looking at them and going, well, how did y'all know this? Right?
right,
The same way they did with the Dogon.
Exactly.
Well, how did y'all know this? 60 years later, we have a telescope and we can see this star that you were talking about. How did you know this? Right?
right,
And how did you know? So,
Hmm.
remember, the answers are always in you. Look within yourself for those answers. Reach out to people that can help guide you along your way, because that's all we are. I'm not here to tell nobody follow me for shit, but I will help guide you. I'm not gonna tell you nothing wrong. I'm not gonna tell you nothing I haven't gone through. But
Right. Right.
we're just here. We're here to drop the seeds, to help stir the pot, to hopefully provoke to emulation in a lot of people. To provoke that thought in you, to
Yeah.
think out of the box, to view things a little differently, to ask questions sometimes. And if you don't get the answer, don't settle for the okie doke. Keep asking until you
Keep
get the
asking.
answer. And the answer is only going to come when it makes sense to you. A
That's
lot
right.
of times you get the answer, but it might not make sense for years. For some people, it might not make sense for years. I can't tell you guys how many
Right.
times people have come to me years later and said, "Hey, remember that time you said such and such?" No. Well, you have to remember, that they remember everything. Oh, you had on yellow suspenders and, the rerun Freddie Stubbs t-shirt and you was pop locking. I don't remember, man, what? But
Right.
whatever it was that was said,
It was important for
eventually
them.
and
Hmm.
eventually
Yeah,
their
it
future
was.
caught up to their past, right? I said it and then something happened to make them, the light bulb went on, right? And it's
Right.
happened to me. I'll tell you, talking to young sisters sometimes and sisters in general, a lot of them that have sons have come and said, man, I was so proud of my son that day when he came and said, Mom, when you used to tell me such and such, you were right. Right. That makes
Right.
mothers proud a
Okay.
lot of time because they realize, okay, I said it, this little MFer heard me, but it didn't make sense until he experienced something. And now the wisdom that you dropped
Now.
on him, it makes sense, right?
Right.
So,
Yep.
again, we all are divinity incarnate, having a human experience. A lot of things that are said ain't gonna make sense to some. It makes sense as soon as they hear it. Others, it takes
Hmm.
some time. Some may never get it. That's the parable of the sower of the seeds, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Some take root, some don't take root. Some spring up real quick and they dry up and they die off, right?
Right.
Hmm.
But
Some just hit the rock and just don't never.
they never took
Preach,
no
preacher.
root, right? They never took
Right.
any root, right? Again, we just sowing the seeds. We just out here, being fishers of men or whatever way you want to
Right.
put it. And guess
Whatever
what?
you,
When you
however
look
you
at
want to put it.
those, when you look at those scenarios, I'm gonna tell you, Krishna had 12 disciples, right? They did the same thing, right? Mithros had 12 disciples.
Yeah.
Dionysus had 12
All right.
disciples, right?
Yeah.
Heru, right? You always have this system of 12. And again, research these things, right? Research it. You'll be
Hmm.
surprised how these things were universally expressed, right? I've shared
Right.
this before. My stuff
All
is in
right.
storage because, as you see in the background, I have a picture of some ruins in Tunich, Belize, right? That's a Mayan ruin that me and my wife visited a couple years ago.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I have my stuff in storage because that's also my
Hey.
next destination. I'm moving to Central America. And you'll see, just tying in the universality, how things are all universally connected. Every nation had a 12 tribe system, right? Every
Oh yeah.
nation had an understanding of their correlation to the cosmos or the heavens above with the earth below, right? They understood that when they saw things happening in the heavens with the stars and their alignments, they corresponded that to things happening on the earth, and there's your as above, as so below, right? But
Right.
then it could be as without, so within, right? As a man thinketh, so he is, right?
Right.
There, everything
So is
still
it.
kind of follows that same
Principle.
that same principle. Thank you. If everything still follows a certain principle, you are what you eat.
Right.
You are what you think. I think, therefore I am. Like all of those things are still
Mhm.
processes of human thought, right? Get your
Yeah.
minds right. Get your minds right. Check
All right.
out your mind, right? And that's
Yeah.
what this is about.
That's it. That's it, brother. For real.
Hey,
Well, all right,
y'all
fella.
talk about the meaning of names, man.
Yeah.
My name Jack, right? It means to lift up. And right about now, it's time for me to raise up out of here.
Yeah, go
So
jack them
be
up,
lifted
jack
up,
them
brother.
up, jack them up, bro.
Oh man, I feel you, bro. Look, man, we rocking, man. It's 1:30, man. I'm telling you, man, we could always get into deep conversation, man, and it's a beautiful thing, man. This is what still building is all about, man. We
Absolutely.
supposed to come together, and then, man, shout out to all the chat people in the chat room, Delise,
Thank you.
Bootsy, you know what I'm saying, Big Tony Foster in there. Nikki saying, everybody was in the chat room, man. Appreciate the love and support. You know what I'm saying? So if you do want to support Still Building Podcast, you can hit us up, man, on the, QR code. We got a QR code right there on the screen. Hit us up, man, and support the podcast,
All right.
man. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate all the love and support. Check us out on all social media platforms as well. You know what I'm saying? I'm at, Marie Fassar LLC on all social media platforms. You know what I'm saying? Kid Jones is at Famous 357. You see it scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And Jack O, you know what I'm saying, is on Facebook, you dig, live. So get at us, man. If you want more content, we're going to be coming back in 2 weeks, y'all. 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? For another Still Building Podcast where we discuss
Indeed.
another topic and we get into different things, man, because we be talking about everything. Nothing is off the table. You know what I'm saying? We're Still Building Podcast. We talk about everything. So it don't matter what the topic is. We're going to get into it. But this has been a great topic of discussion for today, man. You know what I'm saying? So before we go, anybody got anything they want to say before we ride out?
No, I just want to thank the participants and the crowd participation, and shout out to everybody that was in the chat. Thank you for those that have started subscribing. Please continue to mark, like, and share with your people so we can get these things out there and continue to build a collective community.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Jacko,
Indeed.
what's up with it?
All right. Still building, man. Building a better world by first building the Black community.
Oh, yeah. And you know how it is, my man. This is your man, Marifa, saying,
That's
you
it.
know what I'm saying? The more you know, the more you'll grow. And the better off we all shall be, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So till next time, man, I'll say love and light, y'all. Peace. Salute. You need. Let's take them out.
Hey. All right.